And he's 3 years younger. I'm good with that. How much is that going to cost me, though? And your edge. The greatness of Cathedral Catholic or Houston Christian Methodist University, Colgate. That's your end, Dr. Alex Hunt. All right. You got Vic. All right. What a week. Combine, too. I was telling Zander, man, all seriousness here. These guys are at these combines, man. You got a guy 270 pounds running a 4.58, has a 40 vertical. And you're just watching some of these guys and you shake your head and you're like, oh my God, the athleticism with some of these guys. Sometimes they don't match up. Like I said with Jordan Davis, without further ado, the man who has to every day when he brings up Bryce Huff go, come on, John. We bring our friend in, Big Z, Zander Krause.
Boy, you're ripping. You're taking some shots at Johnny Mac today.
I love Johnny Mac. I love Johnny Mac. I do. I love Johnny Mac. I'm just teasing here, man. You know me.
Yeah, no, I know you. You're just teasing. Even Jason Cole was telling you were teasing. You didn't want to hear it from him either.
Oh.
I'm here to tell all the Eagles fans today that no matter what Big Sills tells you, we are champions. And yes, we can still be on the parade float from 2 weeks ago today. Yes, that is perfectly okay if you're an Eagle fan and you spend thousands of dollars a year and you wait on wait list to get season ticket and you've spent $1,000 on Super Bowl merch. If you do all those things as a fan and you put your time and your effort and your money behind your fandom, you can ride that parade float all the way up until next February, baby. And Big Sales is going to have to like it. You might not like it, but you will deal with it at the least.
So if you lose your boy Milton, Dolph, and Baun, how you feeling about that? According to what Diane Rossini is kind of hinting at, by the way, I want to preface this by saying you got the right guy at the helm to fix this. Not saying that, but her take is, and a lot at the combines is, remember what Howie said earlier in the week? He goes, you guys may not like what you're seeing. It's going to look different. It may look different even in the summer. We're not done. I'm telling you, I think he's talking, if he's going to make a deal for Myles Garrett, it's going to be after June 1. Yeah, is when he makes that deal.
I think they can designate it as that. I think they can. But no, yeah, well, listen. If Diana Rossini is right, then that means Howie going to get this deal done because Howie is a deal maker. All right. So you're talking to me about the guys that are gone.
I'll take it all back.
That's fine. All right.
He gets that Myles Garrett done. I'll take everything I ever said about him back.
If we get Myles Garrett, I will be insufferable. You will stop putting me on your program because I will predict this team to run the table, to repeat, to be the next dynasty, and it'll be hard to dispute until they start playing games. So, no, look, I get it. I get every side of it. I understand not wanting to part with guys you just want to ring with. I understand not wanting to leave Devontae Smith. I understand all sides of it, but when I get a report from a viable person like Diana who says Howie's willing to deal young players, that tells me all I need to know. Whether we like it or not, don't matter. Whether Flex likes it or not, or Twiz or Emre, or it doesn't matter. If Howie's in the game, that means Howie's in the game. And he likes this player. John has talked about that for years. He loves Myles Garrett. They love Myles Garrett. The organization does. And if they're saying they're in the game, I mean, I'm taking it at face value.
Listen to what Lane says about him.
Yeah, no doubt. So I don't want to say I'm saying getting rid of Smitty. I'm not saying I want to do that, Twiz.
No.
I'm just saying my opinion on what to do with Smitty doesn't fucking matter. Because if Howie Roseman believes that's what it takes to get Myles and he determines that's correct, guess what? Myles is coming to Philly. And I'm kind of with my guy Devin Shanahan in the chat earlier today who was saying, I don't really give a shit who's on the football team. Go back and win another Super Bowl. That's what I want. And the GM has proven that he makes decisions time and time again that puts the team in position to win the Super Bowl. So I'm not going to sit here and whine about a player. If Howie believes it's necessary, until right now I'm proven otherwise, I'm going to trust what Howie Roseman's going to do, because I think he's done a good job of getting us to that game, 2 games in 3 years in the Super Bowl. You're 1-1 in those games, and you were more dominant this year than maybe ever in the history of Eagles football in the way you won the Super Bowl. So if Howie thinks it's necessary, look, go for it, man. I do love the player. I will be the first guy to love the move. Like, I know we're saying, I don't want to lose Devontae, but like, if they did, I'd be the first guy to be like,
but look who you're talking about.
Exactly. It sucks, but look at what we got here. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what they end up doing, man.
Okay, it's February 28th. Baun doesn't have a deal. Do you agree with me? The more this goes on, and the more this gets closer to the 12th, that we're talking about this looking like almost all of these guys will be on the open market and will be testing free agency.
Yeah, no doubt. You get to March 12th and nobody's signed. You're at 50-50 that all 4 are gone. Maybe higher than that.
Wow.
Think about it. I mean, if
stupid teams.
Just think about it. You're going to let Zack Baun, who is a first-team All-Pro, hit free agency?
Unbelievable.
Somebody, and I love the way John phrased this morning, because I kind of brought this up. I'm like, John, what's the timeline on Baun here, dude? Like, we're getting close to the 12th. If he hits the open market, I'm not feeling too good about that. John said they're going to have walkaway numbers, all right? And they're very disciplined in this regard. They've done it. I forget the name, the free agent. I think it was TJ Edwards. Myles Sanders. They had a walkaway number. I think who's the other guy I was thinking about?
DeAndre Swift?
No, it wasn't DeAndre. They had a walkaway number on somebody else. I'm blanking on right now. But anyway, they set walkaway numbers, and when it goes over it, they don't falter. Huh? No, I don't know. I forget who it was. I'm blanking on it right now. But so if it does get to the open market, they're going to have set numbers on what they'll go for each guy, maybe even not all 4, and they'll play it. They'll play it that way. But the one thing the front office in Philly is really good at is having contingency plans. And if me and Sileo are thinking about it on February 28th, they're thinking about it, and their team of 100 people, which is why they're so good, by the way, is thinking about it as well. So
they were talking this in September.
Exactly. And they're talking contingencies and what to do. And if this guy leaves, what can we do? They're looking at Nick Bolton. They're looking at everybody. That's the one thing I think Eagles fans should feel good about, because the front office has proven it. They've proven it. So it'll be interesting to see, but I'm with you, man. The closer it gets to March 12th, based on our conversation yesterday, Sales, he's the one free agent I really want back. Like, I can live with losing the other guys. Yeah. I really think Zack Baun to be back. Think about it.
Because he's in the middle of your defense.
He's in the middle of that defense, and we haven't had linebacker play like that. Nope. We haven't, man. And what he did for this defense. I mean, you brought up yesterday that Jalen Carter was the linchpin, and I do agree with that premise, because it all starts at the line. But if you think about the addition of Zack Baun, while he wasn't the linchpin, he's what made you the number 1 overall.
He tied it together.
Right. You can't. Jalen Carter can be great. He can't make you the number 1 overall defense alone. And you added a guy with Zack Baun's caliber behind him, which, by the way, helped the secondary as well. And they benefited each other. But,
yeah, but what he does is, when you have a backer like that, you tie the secondary and the D line together, because you have a versatile dude that can cover and play in space. How many times did you see him in space going from sideline to sideline? You know why he was afforded that? Look at what you did in the Super Bowl. You didn't bring one blitz, and you got home all night. I mean, when you have a linebacker that could just run the field like that.
Now add Myles Garrett.
Listen,
we might not blitz once next year.
Bro, you added Myles Garrett with Jalen Carter, and if you were somehow able to keep Baun, you're unbeatable.
Listen.
Unbeatable.
I get it. Let me just push back on some of the great people from JAKIB Nation, which by the way, I love y'all. I missed you on Monday. Man, does it stink. All right, taking days off here. Twiz is like, all offseason, Sil's talking about keeping our defense cheap. Now he wants a $30 million edge. That's 29. Bro, it's not us. It's not
I know. I don't know when he's talking.
It's Howie.
It's
Dude,
Howie.
Twiz, do you like Howie? I mean, because Howie's the guy. Diana Rossini's not reporting this out of her butthole. I mean, she's pretty good, Diana Rossini. She's down there at the
He
combine.
spoke to him today.
Multiple people down there are saying the Eagles want to get Garrett. Okay, now if we take that and say, all right, the Eagles want Garrett, but they don't want Devontae Smith, or they don't want to give up Devontae, don't want to give up Nolan. All right, then you're not giving more than the Commanders can give.
That's right.
Commanders have better draft picks and just as many dudes
and more money.
And more money to give them an extension. So if you don't want to talk about the players it's going to take to get them, then you're not really in the conversation. And Howie doesn't play that way, Twiz. Howie is in the conversation.
He is. I believe he's even said it. He goes like this, I can't talk about a player under contract, but let me just put it to you this way. We turn over every stone.
Yes, he said that.
He said that verbatim.
He said that.
And then Twiz is telling me, hey, Sileo wants us to go. I don't want you to do anything.
Listen, if they're in the convo, boy, he's going to give them. He's going to want them. He's going to want to dance. So,
and I'll tell you, if I'm Myles, what I would do, I would restructure my $79 million that I'm owed, and Howie will give him the bag of money. They'll drop that thing down, that base salary, and that guy will look like he's playing for free.
Yeah. How about this?
Dude, you get a guy like that on your defensive. So you get Nolan Smith, and you draft an edge, and you fucking say you get the kid from Tennessee, and you get Smith as your – look at this. How'd you like to have James Pierce, Nolan Smith, and Jalix Hunt as your rotation along with Garrett on the other side?
We're not getting Pierce.
Because you'd have to give up the one.
Yeah, you're not getting Pierce. Even if you had the one, you're not getting Pierce. He's going high. I mean,
I've seen anywhere from 11 to 20.
I think Cole brought up a good point, though. I mean, everybody's crying about Smitty. I don't think they're giving up Smitty because I don't think the Browns want Smitty because the Browns are a team that's in cap trouble. So they don't really want a guy that, especially like Jason said, they got to build defenses. They need a quarterback. They're not looking for
it's a cap-friendly deal.
It is a cap-friendly deal. I'm just saying they're not looking to build their team around that, and they're not in a position of, flexibility like the Commanders are, for example. So they're not really going to want that deal. I don't anticipate Devontae would even be included in it, but you got to talk about giving a good guy. That's what we're talking about here. So I don't really know who they would give. Maybe Nolan, but do they even want Nolan? He's going on year 3 of a rookie contract, probably looking for big money.
Picks don't make me move the needle because they're so low in the drafts.
I think Senor had the take of the day. Senor, what was your take, bro, on the he had Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
He had Jordan Davis, someone else, and the draft pick.
Tyler Steen.
Tyler
Steen.
Yeah. You better be signing Becton then if you're doing that.
Yeah.
Better be signing Becton.
How about this deal here? What do you make of this? Somebody brought this up, and I'm going to steal from them. What if you cut Slay? He clears waivers, which he will because it's a $12 million number.
All right.
You bring him back at $5 million.
Yeah, I said
open to that?
Yeah, we put out a short today on JAKIB during your show, Krause's 2-minute drill on Darius Slay. And 5-6 million. I'm bringing, here's the thing. Everything is about alternatives if you're looking at players like this. All right. Do you feel like you can get a viable replacement? Because remember, this team isn't climbing the mountain anymore. You're trying to repeat as champions. You're trying to maintain what you were last year and build on that. So
it's a narrow perch you're standing on at the top of the mountain.
It's very hard to stand there. So if I'm looking at cornerback, I'm going to let Slay walk and replace him with who? Keely Ringo?
No.
Isaiah Rodgers?
No.
Or do I give Slay the $7 million, put 3 Boyd years on there? Your cap hit's going to be a couple million. It's going to be a team-friendly deal. Let him retire as an Eagle. Give him more help with Quignon and Cooper DeJean and the other young corners. Even if he plays 50% of the snaps, is he better than the alternative? I believe he is, because I don't believe they're going to spend more draft capital on a secondary player, and I don't really believe there's that many good free agents out there that Howie would go and spend money on. They're not in a position to do that at cornerback.
And so he's going to clear the wire because of the number he's making now.
Right.
12.
Yeah.
And if you're Slay and if you're Drew Rosenhaus, where am I going to go and where am I going to go to get $5 million? Carolina? Or do I go
Yeah.
back to
Look,
Howie?
remember, Slay's not. What does he want to end his career in
No,
Carolina?
no.
No. There's a couple teams that Slay would look for money from. I mean, let's be real. There's not that many teams.
Detroit,
Remember,
Washington, or Philly.
there's also the family aspect that I think people forget, especially at Slay's age. He's got a wife. He's got kids. You're talking about 1 year. You're talking about 1 year. Should I go to Detroit and make $9 million, lose $1 million, lose that couple million in taxes, travel back and forth, have my wife here, my kids here? Do I move them all for a year? All those elements are factors. Or do I take $6 million and stay in Philly and uproot nothing? I mean, I don't know. Everybody has different factors that they value for the quality of their life. I'm not going to speak on what Darius Slays are. I'm assuming that would be a factor in the decision. Exactly. So we'll see what they end up doing. But if I'm Slay, I'd probably take the deal in Philly. And if I was Howie, I'd probably bring Slay back.
What do you make of the new quarterback coach? I actually like the kid. There's a tie-in with Howie and the Gators. He was a former Gator coach, and he was there with Tebow, which means it's not so much the Tebow factor. It's more the dual threat factor that he's dealt with that. He's coached it in college at Bowling Green. He's also coached it when he was at Florida. He knows the dual threat aspect. The only thing you get with him is that he's a fiery guy, and you got Nick and him on the sidelines. Big Dom's going to have his work cut out for these two guys, because I'll tell you, I've never seen a head coach get thrown out of a game for two misconduct penalties. He got thrown out of a football game.
I know, that's fine.
I'd like to
fine because of Jalen. That's fine because of Jalen. Look,
Jalen wanted him.
And Jalen's demeanor is an equalizer for a guy like that. If you think this guy's going to be acting up as the quarterback, come on. In a way, he answers to Jalen. So Jalen is calm, cool, collected. In fact, I like that. I like a little fire. I like a little passion. I like big sills for that reason. All right. You're not going to get me to turn on a guy for that. So
I'd like to hire.
Yeah, I do. By the way, I like that he was, coached with Brady. I like that.
Coach Brady.
That. Apparently, he still has a really good relationship with Brady. Like, they still talk frequently. So that's pretty good. I mean, I like that.
Hey, you want to hear something else that I know about the guy? Let me tell you this. The only reason that Tebow took a visit to Michigan was because of him.
Oh, really?
Everybody has tremendous respect for him. And so there's no doubt, in my opinion, I think they probably ran this by Jalen Hurts and said, here's your new quarterback coach. And I think Jalen probably went like this. He's got a great reputation. I'm in. I mean, I do. And plus, like you said, Brady worked with who else? Tom House.
Yep.
Now he likes them Brady guys. Plus, I think he likes to be coached hard. I think that's why he is who he is.
I do too. I've been saying that. Don't give Jalen Hurts that soft shit. He doesn't want that soft shit. He wants to be told, and he wants to be coached. And I think that's a sign of a great player. I think that's a sign of a champion, a guy that never goes to sleep at the wheel. Always wants to improve and get better and work on his craft. I love that about Jalen. I think it's one of the best traits about him. I saw a video already floating around of him working in the offseason. I mean, look, not many people will put stock in that, and you don't have to. It's fine.
do.
But, dude, you know how many other fucking quarterbacks would be in Cabo right now?
I put massive stock in that.
I mean, that dude's working, okay? And it might be a couple hours, whatever, however much time it is. The fact that he is working shows you that it's not about the highs and the lows for Jalen Hurts. It really is about the process, the grind. He loves what he does. He does what he does every day. I mean, that's dope. I think that's great. And, that kind of comes from that line that Brady had. And I see a lot of that in Jalen, and I like the quarterback coach, though, just to get back to the point. I do like the quarterback coach. I think he's a good hire. I like what he's done at Bowling Green, too. I mean, it's not that easy in College World Stills to coach a team like that and coach them to wins and bowl games and stuff. So I like that, man. I like it.
How about this again? Here's the difference between Brady and Oscar Rogers. He's worried about dumb other shit. Brady's worried about working out with Tom House. The offseason of what I'll say it again. You know what made Tom Brady great? The offseason. His attention to detail.
Right.
That's what made him great. The season was just the payoff of the hard work. And that's what I think I think that's what Jalen is doing now. He's paid it off. The Super Bowl was the payoff of the hard work that he's done. Hey, dude, he's changed a lot of narratives, man.
Absolutely.
With what he's done. And it's not a one-year thing. He's done it over 4 years now, because remember what I told you. Once he punches that ticket of a Super Bowl win, and then he's a Super Bowl MVP on top of it, all the stuff that he's done from the 2000 season, 2001 season, it's all validated.
And it has a different meaning.
It totally does.
Totally different meaning. You're right about that 100%. You go to the Super Bowl one time and you lose. Yeah, 1 year, 1 year. All those narratives are correct. Now you do it. Now you're showing consistency and types of that. And you got over the top. I mean, you're right. I'm happy to hear you say that. And I think you're spot on with it.
What'd you make of the combines, man? Was there somebody that on the first day stuck out with you and stuck out that you were like, wow, I really like this player here. He could be down there for the Eagles. Maybe somebody that you like. Was there somebody that jumped off the screen to you?
Yeah, so there's a couple guys I want to talk about that really jumped off the screen to me, and I've been doing more research that I was watching it before I came on the show today. Couple guys that really jump off, but I was trying to figure out what it was about the combines that stood out to me this year, and then leave it to Big Sills. You nailed it in your open. It's exactly what I was thinking, where you come in and you're just like, these athletes are unbelievable. The way that these dudes run nowadays, you're talking about 6'6" guys running 4.5 40s, jumping 42 inches in the air. I mean, it's unbelievable. Some of these athletes, and you recapped it perfectly in your opening segment here today on the National Football Show. So that was well done by you. But a couple of names that stick out. I mean, obviously there's the two names, right? Shamar Stewart and James Pierce. Both of those guys had tremendous days. Honestly, their days were so good that you might be talking about they're not even a shot anymore at 32. A couple guys I think you could get at 32 is that Landon Jackson guy. I think he had a great day as well. He could be a guy that pushes up into that earlier first round as well. But I've also seen him in mocks in the second round. So he could be a guy I could see there at 32. I like the size. I like the strength. Another dude that has elite athletic traits in terms of the jump. I forget they do that standing jump with the explosiveness and stuff like that. So
vertical.
Yeah, vertical. Well, vertical and the what's the other jump? The long jump thing.
The standing broad.
Yeah, standing broad jump. So that was impressive from him. I really thought that was pretty good stuff. And then you know who stood out to me, who I don't know if they'd be a target for the Eagles, but that Derek Harmon guy from Oregon, he really stood out to me in some of those drills. Again, they're drills. I don't know what they mean, but just from the eye test, he stood out to me. I liked him. And that CJ West, that Indiana guy, 316 pounds, Sills, and he ran a sub 5-second 40. 316, and he's moving at 4.95. I mean, that's unbelievable. And then I'll tell you one guy that if they're not going to trade for Garrett, and they do want to dance and get a little higher in the draft. You want to replace a guy like Milton Williams. You want to create a double, a two defensive tackle tandem, potentially moving on from Jordan Davis if you did. That Walter Nolan kid, man, I think that kid is a freaking beast. I love the way he rushes the passer in the interior, strong, fast, great with his hands. I think he's going to be a really, really good player, and you're going to have to move up to get him. He's not going to be there at 32, but Walter Nolan I really like.
Yeah, those are all great names. I thought the Harmon kid at 6'4", 313 showed a lot of athleticism, and
yes,
I really liked him a lot there too. But here's the guy. What is it? Shamar Stewart.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my problem with him. Okay, his tape doesn't match what I'm looking at here. He's a 4.59 guy, had a vertical out of the building. He's 6'5", and he's 270, which is unbelievable.
Right.
I just saw that with Jordan Davis. I saw Jordan Davis run a 4.78 at 340 pounds, and he's never lived up to that skill set.
Yep.
He's not productive. Now, when I turn the tape on and watch him and watch his film, I'm like this. He gets lost in the game. Now, Chop a year ago had only 3.5 sacks at Penn State his last year. He had 6.5 this last year, and he was in a different system, maybe better coaching. I don't know. So again, I'm going to look at that and go, well, Chop was better. His rookie year, he finished 5th in the Rookie of the Year voting. I liked him a lot. I wanted the Eagles to draft him. They landed on two great players. Okay. So when I look at a guy like Stewart, I'm like, okay, how could you be 6'5", 270 and run a 4.5 and jump 40 feet or 40 inches in your vertical, and you're not the best player in the country? I mean, are you?
I struggle with this because I completely agree with what you're saying, where it's like, why are you this incredible athlete?
Yeah.
And you have 4.5 sacks in 3 years or whatever it is. I mean,
Yeah.
What's going on there? But, if you look a little deeper, he does lead. He led A&M in pressures. Again,
Okay.
It's not sacks, but he led A&M in pressures. So
It's SEC football, though.
It's SEC football. Again, exactly. I mean, you're leading your team in pressures is no small feat. If you're not always getting home, that's fine.
Yep.
The other thing is he's young, not quite polished. And, I read a draft guy that I think I agree with his line of thinking. And I'm blanking on his name, so I apologize for that. But, he tweeted out, I'm a production guy, but there are very rare instances where athleticism is so elite that you have no choice but to take it and see if you can hone it and get the most out of it. And Shamar Stewart showed that type of athleticism.
Yes.
Now, again, I'm with you.
That's 100% true.
Yes, exactly. So, but again, didn't you feel that way with Jordan Davis?
I did.
Look at the size. Look at how fast. You kind of felt that with Jordan. Now, Shamar was a different level. He was third out of 1,800 plus defensive linemen who have tested at the combine since 1985. Think about that for a second. 1,800 defensive linemen who tested at the combine in their relative athletic score. He was third. That's insanity. Cooper DeJean last year, we talked about how insane he was. He was 20th out of like 2,000.
Yep.
Third out of 1,800. So insane athleticism, and then you look at Pierce, right, who ran the 40, and he had all the production. He was the guy who was getting sacks like crazy. So I don't know, how much stock do you put into that versus some of his traits weren't as good, a little smaller, a little undersized, kind of built like Nolan Hassan type of guy. You know what I mean? Do you like that better?
Pierce is 6'5", so he's
taller.
bigger.
He's bigger. Yeah, he's bigger.
Taller. He's not, he's
not huge though. He's not huge.
No, he's 245, which will look like
John. I thought John had a good point on this. He was like, you already have Nolan. Do you want two undersized edge guys, or would you rather get a guy with a little bit more size? Think about Brandon Graham, not the tallest guy in the world, but a great against the run. I think John might be onto something.
But how big is Josh Sweat?
He's not huge, but he's your prototypical edge rusher. I mean, Josh Sweat's probably what?
He's 6'4",
260, somewhere in that range.
So you're talking about a kid who's going to gain some weight, gain 10 pounds. He'd be 255 at 6'5".
Yeah, Josh Sweat's 6'5", 265.
Okay, so he's 20 pounds heavier. Okay. I think you could put some weight on his ass.
That's why I like Landon Jackson, Sills.
Okay.
I like Landon Jackson because he's 6'7", 280. And he's got crazy good speed, and the explosiveness jumped off the page. Like, that's a guy I think Vic Fangio would take and turn into a monster quickly. Maybe I'm wrong, but 6'7", 280, great explosiveness, which is what you want. And from a guy that's that big, I like that, man. I like Landon Jackson a lot right now.
40.5 vertical.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. His explosiveness is out of this world.
Almost
add him with a guy like Nolan.
11 in the standing broad.
Yeah.
Which means he's explosive. Here's a starter. You know who this guy reminds me of? But he's bigger? The kid in Kansas City they got from Purdue. That Galifianakis kid. He's just bigger, though.
Yeah.
He's 6'6", 264, 270. I mean, you put him out. Now, remember something, though. Is that a Vic Fangio edge? Vic don't like them big 280 guys out there.
Are you talking about Karlaftis? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking about Karlaftis.
Yeah,
the Chiefs dude.
Yeah. He's a great player. He's turned into be a really good NFL player. I was not sold on him in the draft. And wait, did you say Landon reminds you of him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that. I see that big time. I see that big time. And I'd have to look up what Karlaftis was like in terms of the explosiveness, but I don't know if he was.
The problem that I had with him coming out of Purdue, he didn't really start when he was there at Purdue. He came in as situational, but he's turned out to be a 3-down guy for Spagnuolo at Kansas City. So he's been, he's played. he played into what they wanted him to be. He's panned out for them.
Yeah, if Karlaftis had a 10-1 broad jump and a 38 vertical. So similar. I mean, you're talking similar. Yeah, a little bit better for Landon, but similar. I like that. It's good comp by you. Yep.
This James Pierce kid, man, watch him move around too. Watch the way he moves and watch the way he does his shuttle drill. I talked to Carl Dunbar about him, and he's one of the most impressive players that is at the combines. I mean, his broad was like over 10. He had a 31 vertical, maybe a little more I would expect at an explosion.
Yep.
He had about a 1.5 in his 10-yard split, which is really good, which means he's exceptionally quick off the line of scrimmage. He knows how to use his hands. Carl says he's really good at twisting his hips and getting around the hula hoop. You know what I mean by that? What you do is you put a hula hoop on the ground and you get the player to circle it. And if he can swivel his hips around it, you know guys who have the hip swivel to be able to make that around.
He's got tight hips.
He's got that's right.
Very tight hips.
That's right. And that means he can get around that offensive tackle, and you can get a gauge on that. There's certain guys that are
but conversely, so can't offensive tackles handle that easier? If you have tight hips, they can just move you outside and make you no threat to the pocket a little easier, right?
You got to be able to lean.
Right.
That's my point. You got to be able to lean down and be able to get under the offensive line. So there's a bunch of good-looking kids. I'll tell you this. I'm not impressed with the secondary guys outside of the top 3 guys, 4 guys. I think the tight ends might be somebody. I know those guys are working out today. But I don't know, man. I mean, you know, if you were a betting man, now again, it's hard because of the Garrett conversation. But let's, for all purposes here, let's do 2 of it. With Garrett, where do you think the Eagles go in the draft if they land Garrett? Because that means you're gonna miss a 1 and maybe a 2.
Maybe a 2.
Right. So what do you do with that first pick in the 3rd? Howie's not going to stay in the 3rd. He'll move pieces around to get into the 2nd round. So because he's going to do –
yeah, what do we have? What do we have, 3 5s this year?
Wouldn't you get another defensive tackle to help out Carter?
You would think, but they do feel pretty good about Moro Ajomo. And, I do too. So I don't know. I mean, if you're going to talk about bringing in Myles Garrett.
How about an LB because of the Kobe being injured?
I just think this team is they're gonna want.
You're sold on Trotter, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I'm not at all. I'm not sold that the Eagles are going to spend another asset at that position. Whether they're sold on Trotter or not might not matter. Like, I think they're going to, if you're talking about 1 draft pick in the first 3 rounds, Sills, it's going to be defensive line or offensive line. There's no doubt about it.
I think you're right.
I mean, that's where I have a hard time saying. I mean, secondary, no. Skill position guy, no. Linebacker, no. Come on. Even when they drafted Nakobe Dean, that was a huge deal. We spent a 3rd on a linebacker. I mean, they don't do this. So you're talking about taking away those first couple picks and going linebacker? I don't see it. I see defensive line or offensive line. And honestly, I'd probably lean close to offensive line there. Maybe we'd take an offensive line with the 4th or the 5th, but
I'm gonna throw this at you here, and please help me, because you talk to John all the time, and both of you guys shut me down on this all the time. But I want to have some clear thinking on it.
All right.
So you're telling me if you lose Zack Baun, and you know you're not getting Dean back at least for a bit, and you don't have those 2 guys at linebacker, and if you watch this kid Campbell at the combines, and then you put his tape on, and it's the 32nd pick, you're telling me you're not fucking taking a guy who's the best player available at that position, and the only reasoning is because you're telling me that's not what they do? That's not a plan. That guy is the best. I'll tell you this kid Campbell is probably one of the top 15 players in the draft. And for you guys, but you're not saying it by your personal, you're saying that's how they do it, and I hear you. But to me, so you lose basically 2 linebackers, maybe Burks too. And the philosophy of the Eagles would be, fuck it, we don't do that.
You're right.
32.
That doesn't sound right. When you frame it like that, that doesn't sound right to do it that way. But Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm wrong on this. I just don't see him doing it. I mean, that's more what it comes down to for me. If you're asking me, I mean, shit, that's Brian Denny Stadium up there. I cashed that pick in so fast, the NFL would be mad at me because they need more commercials and time to talk about it during the draft. I mean, I would take Giad Campbell. I mean, the other thing I love about him is he's so versatile. I could see Vic Fangio having a field day with him. I could see him making him, putting him all over the yard, rushing the passer, using him in blitzes, keeping him at line. I mean, he's a versatile player. And for anybody who's watched Alabama or SEC football or college football, I mean, you know how good this guy is. So, I like the player a lot, but I don't know if Howie would go down that road. I really don't. I mean, his instinct, I think, is probably the one spot on him that maybe you'd question a little bit. Not over the top, but maybe the instinct's a little bit there where you want to see a little bit quicker reaction time. But once he does react, he's got all the athleticism you would want to be able to do it. But I love the player. The way you pose the question makes me feel like I don't want him. I do. I just don't think the Eagles would do it.
No, I agree with you. I'm with you. I mean, it's their behavior.
Especially Sills, think about it. I mean, inevitably this offseason, no matter what happens, no matter if you sign back some guys, no matter if you trade for Myles Garrett, inevitably the Eagles are losing defensive linemen this offseason.
Yeah.
A good amount of them. So
I think there's a chance the Eagles could be the most devastated team, free agency wise, of any team in the league. That's a champ. That is a winning football team. I think Minnesota's going to lose some players. I think Kansas City. I saw they tagged Trey Smith today. So I didn't believe
they're gonna get a deal done with him.
I didn't think they were gonna let him walk. But look what I'm saying. Now let me show you this though. So Zander, today the Kansas City Chiefs tagged Trey Smith, not wanting him to get the free agency. When do the Eagles make a move on Baun? When do you have an idea? John's around it.
I don't know.
I don't know. Kansas City made a move today.
I know.
The Rams made a move today. The Rams made a move today to make sure Stafford's in the building.
I think what I just said is a big reason that they're going to sign Baun because they can't, with the holes that are already happening on the defensive line, they can't afford another goose egg at the linebacker position. They don't have enough assets to recoup. So if you think about this for a second, even if you, as it stands today, Brandon Graham presumably gone. Josh Sweat presumably gone. Milton Williams presumably gone. That's 3 guys on the defensive line. Well, no, I'm talking about defensive line only. Okay. 3 guys on the defensive line who are presumably out the door. So if you make a trade for Myles Garrett, okay, you got the edge rusher back. You're still missing an interior guy in Milton Williams and another edge rusher in Brandon Graham. So that's where I look at this and I'm like, boy, unless there's a player that blows this team away that falls, they're going to take their best defensive lineman on the board. I just think that's what they're going to do.
But I believe the Eagles feel this. If they get Garrett, I think they think Milton and Baun are replaceable.
Baun or Milton and Sweat?
If you got Garrett.
Oof. See, I don't think you want to go. I don't like that mentality because I've seen the Eagles have that mentality before, and it's cost.
I didn't say not replace him with Nick Bolton, though.
Well, that's a perfect world, though, assuming that we would get Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton's also on the open market. What makes you say that somebody's not going to pay him $8 million?
I believe he will be too.
So again, there's too many perfect scenarios here. You have the All-Pro in the room. Get him under fucking contract, and then if you go all out for Myles Garrett, you feel pretty good about whatever you have to give up to get him, because you got Jalen Carter, Zack Baun, Quinyon and Cooper back, and now Myles Garrett. Now I feel good about the defense. The rest you can fill in the pieces.
I see Dodd down here because I brought this up last week. Why don't they just tag him? $27 million instead of worrying about
$27 million for Zack Baun?
Wait, but here you're saving money. You don't have to give a signing bonus and base.
Dude, $27 million.
Wait a minute. Listen, though. It's cheaper. It's 1 year. You're not tied to him. And get this. Here's what happens if you sign him to a 3-year contract. You're paying him a base of around $14 million. Then you got to give him $20. So you're paying him $34 million this year. Whereas if you give him,
that's not how it's going to be, though. That's not what it's going to be. Let me try and find who's a comparable. Who's a comparable contract on the Eagles that would be what Zack Baun would get?
Roquan Smith.
No, I'm talking about a guy on the Birds.
Oh, there isn't one. Not on defense.
Not on defense, there's not. But if I looked at a guy like...
Funny, they don't really have... how about this? Atlanta Dickerson's got a $20 million deal. A value of around 20 per.
See, here, yeah, that's good. I think it's going to be less than that, though. I'm trying to find someone a little bit less than that. All right, let's just take Devontae Smith for an example. All right, this is why I don't think I can use that scenario. All right, you look at Devontae Smith, who's making more money, by the way, than Zack Baun would get. 3 years, $75 million extension. Now, this is a tough one because you worked in...
and he's 25.
You worked in some other stuff, but, his cap hit this year. Next year, 25 season, $7 million. The year after that, $10 million. The year after that, $14 million. So there's no way, in no world are you going to pay Zack Baun and have a $30 million cap hit in year one. They're just not going to do it. It's a credit to the owner, Sills. He has so much cash he's willing to put in escrow for these guys that it allows Howie to manipulate the cap hits like crazy. So I can't agree that the franchise tag will be cheaper.
Okay, well, it's only 27. You pay a guy 3 years, you paying him a 3-year contract at 28 years old, you got to pay a signing bonus of at least $20 million. If you're going to be around $45 million, maybe $18 million. You're going to pay the guy in your $17 million plus his base. That's 26. And what the deal is, you're not tied into 2 extra years.
Bryce Huff. This is the right contract to compare it to. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But look, even Bryce Huff's contract, he signed last year as a free agent. So no previous extension here, or no previous time here in Philly. His cap hit last year. Last year was $4 million. This year it's $7 million, and next year it's $11 million.
Back-ended it.
Back-ended it. Completely back-ended it. So if you do it with Baun, there's no way the cap hit's going to be close to that franchise tag. That's why the Eagles don't use the franchise tag, Sills.
That Bryce Huff contract just absolutely makes it sure and a slam dunk that Josh Sweat's out.
Yeah, imagine if you had a double-digit sack guy in Bryce Huff.
Oh, my God.
You wouldn't worry about Sweat at all.
But then, because you know why? You told him to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
And then you paid the other guy. And remember what Jason Cole said? You don't think Josh Sweat's looking at that guy being a rotation piece and not even active for the Super Bowl? He was the best player on the field. That guy makes $18 million. You told me to take a pay cut. Now you want to come back on a friendly deal for Philly? Fuck that. I'm out. I have no interest in that.
Yeah.
I have no interest in that. Xander, let's get to the supers here, brother.
Yeah, I gotta run here soon. Oh no, we don't have any. We don't. Oh well, I don't know. You got this one during Jason Cole. This your man's Daniel. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Steve was hilarious. Steve was hilarious today. Sills, I took Steve's wrench.
Don't take it personal, Steve. We're boys. We're good.
Right now, Steve's wrench got stripped like 6 months ago. I don't even remember when I did it. And he shows up like a week ago. And he's like, "Where the hell did my wrench go?" And now he's wreaking havoc in the chat. It's unbelievable.
Holy shit! Steve's treating that wrench like it's a pacifier.
Yeah, that wrench has superpowers, bro. That don't. I'm telling you, those wrenches got superpowers.
I can't wait to see how this thing. I can't wait next week, Xander. Those contracts better get on the table, bro, because then you got the longer this goes, the more chances those guys are totally going to. Do you think all 4 of them are going to be? All 3 of them, Becton, everyone. Do you think they're all going to be on the market after March 12th?
I do on. I think there's a better chance Becton or Baun hits the open market than Becton, just because his agent's going to be like, bro, we got to test this. Yeah. Becton might be like, I don't really care about the open market. I want to get a deal done in Philly.
He made $20 million north of it, guaranteed already.
I think he might be the guy who'd be like, I don't really care what the open market's going to give me. I want to stay here in Philly. If you guys are willing to get a deal done, let's get a deal done. So all 3, I think there's a good chance all 3, yes, all 3 hit the open market, but we'll see what ends up happening. If Diana Rossini's right and we're tangoing for Garrett, we'll see what happens.
Look at him. I didn't mention this, Princess.
Prince says offseason Sills is off to a slow start.
Wait, these aren't my takes.
There's highs and lows, Prince. When you reach the Super Bowl, the highs are high.
Hey,
brother.
Prince, I don't know what you're talking about. These aren't my takes. This is what's going on at the combines, kid. Hey, be careful, because you know what I'll do? I'll make sure you have your pardon rescinded. Okay, I'll make sure you send
Prince,
back.
Prince, he doesn't have that power. I will nix that. All right, I'll make a call. I'll make the call to the Oval Office myself. I'll kick Zelensky out of the room. Say, I got business to handle. Prince needs to be released. Don't worry, Prince.
Is that true that Trump kicked Zelensky out of the White House?
I don't know what happened. I was watching today. I love that shit. I find it so entertaining. Here's what I hate though.
He looks like a skate. I thought he was a skateboarder.
We can't even talk about it on the show because people will get their panties in the chat. It's so funny. But
hey, Zander, I thought he looked like a skateboarder when he showed up.
Yeah. No, pretty funny. You know, that was I was joking in the chat. I'm like, Sileo watched Trump beat up on Zelensky, and then he decided to come into the chat and beat up on Steve. He said, "Steve, you're my Zelensky today." So he beat up on you, Steve.
Hey, folks, do me a favor. Make sure you give Zander a shout out for the gear he's got on with that top and that hat. I mean, that's the dude. That is so. I've never seen that.
I showed you the. This is signed by Michael Ruzioni. See that?
Yeah.
That's the Miracle on Ice when they beat the Soviets, signed by Ruzioni. So pretty cool right there. We got that down in Lake Placid. All right. We got that.
Yeah, great stuff. Zander, let me go, bro.
All right, man. Peace.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you guys so much. That's great Gary had on too, man. I love it there. Hey, guys, do me a favor. Make sure you check out our friends at BetUS, man. Had a great season with them. They give you all kinds of options too on betting and looking at all the games like the NBA games, the NHL games. You got Major League Baseball coming around the corner here. Don't forget the YouTube 150. That's right. Signing bonuses up to 2K. Second and third are 125%. If you're into crypto, that's 200%. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business. 24/7 personalized service, 365 days of the year. Live wagering on all major games. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sil sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured